giant shotguns to go bring someone for him to torture. And that's right before, obviously, the scene where, and even too, I like the buildup in the scene that you were referring to in the sort of meat factory where they're all sitting on hooks, but they actually show you the shot of just the slabs of meat on the hooks first, and he's just standing in the room. It reminded me of Road Games. I don't remember. There was a great part in that had slabs of meat as well. And then he goes into the freezer where there are just frozen bodies in there that they're clearly like hiding in there from like another time.
Yeah, and one of them's even his buddy, like the one that they've kept to identify and stuff. So it's like there's even a coldness to that. They haven't even buried their friend or anything because the business hasn't been done or dealt with. Then
they bring in the truck full of dudes sliding them around on the meat hooks and everything. But my favorite part of that is that he calls it, the way that he talks about what they're about to do is he calls it a funeral. Like it's like a casual little ceremony that like everybody does that you have to go to every once in a while. You don't really like to go to them, but you know, you do. And that's how he's describing like bringing in a bunch of people on like sliding meat hooks that he's then going to rant about them at where he's telling them about how he's done them all favors in the past and treated them well. And
they're business partners in a way. That's the craziest thing too. I think all six of those people are like leaders in their different divisions. And then at the end, he even says something like, just give them each $1,000 and tell them to shut up or something like that. Yeah. Like, it's so easy to deal with something like that. I put you upside down on a meat hook and threatened your life, but $1,000 and, business as usual.
Well, and not only that, the POV shot of them being slid around on the hooks, which is like such a scary, dehumanizing kind of like moment in the film. It reminded me so much of what we talked about in Thief, when the gangster puts him into that one factory and the entire monologue that he gets is like upside down from his point of Jimmy Kahn, like lying on the ground while the Chicago mobster like threatens to literally like crush him and enslave him. Like it has very evil vibes to it. Yes. But there's something so scary in this film, particularly just how, for me, it was just how casual he did it. Like, he's such a kind of charismatic performer, the Bob Hoskins character, Harold. Yeah. That really did come out of nowhere for me, where I did not expect him to be like torturing people so, ruthlessly in that kind of way. And even though, again, he doesn't end up like really killing anyone or doing anything in that scene in particular, you just know that the threat was there.
If the other guy didn't run in and say like it was an IRA bomb, like who knows what that scene would have been.
Yeah, just the frozen bodies in there, the slabs of meat, the bodies swaying back and forth, like those images all together just do enough of the work for you.
Yeah, and he's clearly done it before. So there's a lot that probably happened in the last 10 to 15 years that we don't get to see. And it's great, man. It's just such a ominous atmosphere a lot of the time, even though it also has that very like lively energy to it because he's always using the slang and he's getting upset at people, and it's just really cool to have both of those in there, and he balances them well. The director,
John, what was his name? John McKenzie. Because I haven't seen any of his films and other than this, and when I looked him up, I found out that he kind of came from like a British TV background. This was one of his kind of early films, and I would say that the film as a result, I think, does kind of have this kind of like tough workman quality to the filmmaking, which kind of makes sense to me coming from the kind of background where you do sort of like a more workman style on TV. But I think that because of the way that Bob Hoskins's performance kind of takes over the movie, I feel like he kind of moves with the energy of that performance a little bit as well. And also the story and the cross cutting and stuff. Like he's working with like a really solid, script as well. Definitely. So I think it's a combination of all those three things ended up working. Like to me, it's a testament to like, if you have the good materials and you've got a performance that sometimes, all you really need to do is basically render it. And you've got something, and and it's not even to say that he's not doing anything special. There are some really nice shots in the film. There's like these great little POV shots of the car.
Yeah, there was one that I really, really liked was, and I want to talk about that scene too, but it's after he stabs one of his partners out of like a fit of rage. And he goes
outside.
Yeah, right. And he goes outside and he's just covered in blood. And that's when Helen Mirren shows up. And he's just spazzing out, trying to get to somebody. And she's just frantically trying to hold him back. And she even falls to the ground. And I just love the camera work because it's like handheld and it's just following him throughout this chaotic scream fit. And I thought moments like that were really good in the filmmaking.
Yeah, a lot of the switches to handheld are very planned.
Yes,
you can definitely tell that they saved them for moments where you're supposed to get really chaotic and close to the characters. Like again, I mentioned it goes handheld during when his pub gets bombed.
Right.
Is one of the big first ones where we see it, and then you're right, after the big stabbing sequence, which is one of my favorite sequences I think in the film, because it just kind of, I wouldn't say it comes out of nowhere, but it's one of those things where you feel like you should have seen it coming, but it's also somehow shocking and surprising, and also the level of just viciousness to the violence in that scene. It's definitely the most that we've seen in the film, even though there's been tons of implied violence throughout the rest of the film. You're kind of in that mindset, and yet somehow it's still kind of shocking. To you,
it's got that. It's basically just a shot of the guy lying down, slowly dying, and the blood just keeps squirting out of his neck. And we've seen things like that before on the show, but there's nothing quite like that in the rest of the film, regardless of what you were saying, all the implications of that.